Welcome adventurer, my name is Korok DM and today I will share 8 thoughts for new game and dungeon masters. Are you thinking about starting a game and looking for advice on how to get started and for a way to improve your confidence? This video is for you. Before we start, riddle me this. What can you only keep after giving it to someone else? A hint? You might find the answer in my last storytime video. Write your guesses down in the comments. I will give you the answer in the next video as well as a shout out for the first one to solve the riddle. The solution to last week's riddle is a deck of cards. The first one who got it right was Save the Princess. Congratulations! Now let's see what we got in the chest today. Number 1. Be fair. A game master is the referee that judges the actions of the players and decides on the actions of the NPCs and the surrounding world. This does not mean that you have to memorize all the rules from the get-go, or even after that. This is supposed to give you a guideline on how to handle them. We want to play fair and give players a chance to actually play the game. Give them options to choose from and don't force them to do something and punish them for doing so. Well, it's not my fault the guard is hunting you. One of the bandits that attacked you in the alleyway that looked just like a regular bad guy was actually the prince. You killed him, it was your decision. I mean, you tried to talk to him and only killed him because he and the others kept attacking. And he looked just like the other henchmen. But man, you are in trouble for your decision. Sucks to be you. As a game master, you are like a god in your own world. You can do whatever you want. With a snap of your finger you can create and destroy. However, if the players don't enjoy the game or feel unfairly treated, they stop believing in that power. Without them, your powers mean nothing. A good tip for when you are in doubt over a certain ruling, decide in favor of your players. Because at the end of the day, you all want to have fun. Number 2. Keep it simple. The most common pitfall I saw new game masters fall into was to over-prepare. Or even worse, feel the need to be over-prepared and don't try running the game in fear of the workload. You don't have to create a whole world and plan out the entire plot from start to finish with twists and big reveals. The best thing is to start small and see where it goes from there. Start in a small area like a village or a little hut in the middle of nowhere. Focus on getting to know the players and their characters. Throw in some easy encounters, run a small dungeon, let them investigate a little mystery. Use this to get familiar with running a game and try to enjoy yourself. You can always build the world around the players as they go. When they want to visit a large city, let them travel there over the course of a few sessions. This gives you enough time to prepare the city or just read into a pre-made setting. Just keep things easy and focus on the players and their task at the moment. The story will unfold on its own. Especially your first game doesn't have to be this complicated and epic plot that unfolds over years. I have to admit the coolest moments I had with my players were often improvised and not planned at all beforehand. Just keep it simple and enjoy the game. There always will be other games and possibilities to try out new things and improve. Number 3. It's a shared story. Tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, The Dark Eye, Shadowrun and many others are shared storytelling games. It is not our job to provide a full-fledged story. We just provide possibilities and choices. It is like we are the ones in charge of the prompt list of an improv theater group. We can't just stick to our list. If we want this to be great, we have to adapt to the others as they adapt to our prompts. In that way, we are all creating a story together. The game master narrates and decides what the NPCs do, and the players decide what their characters do depending on the scene they're in. Set the scene, present a problem and give your players a chance to handle it, even if they don't solve a problem like you anticipated. If you want full control over the story and don't like having players messing it up, you might want to write a book instead. However, if you want to play a tabletop role-playing game, work with your players to tell your group's story.
Hello humanoids, Halfling Hannah here from Halfling Hobbies, and I popped on over to Korok DM's channel to tell you the next tip for brand new DMs. This tip will save you so much, I promise you, and it is improvise. And yes, improvising is very important when you have an NPC conversation going on, but that's not quite what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about improvising rules. And I know some of you might be freaking out, But I promise you there are too many rules for you to remember. You can try your darndest and be doing this for years, and there will be certain rules that you will never remember. I have a whole video on the 5 rules that I always forget. To this day, there are rules that I don't know and I improvise every time. Every session, at least 3 or 4 times, I will improvise a rule. It's just the way that it works. Now, the reason why we do this is because there is nothing more boring than your player asking if they can do something and then waiting for 30 minutes while you try to find it in the book or in an app. It's always more important to keep the game moving forward than it is to be perfectly right. The good thing about D&D 5e, if that's what you're playing, is that 5e rules are really pretty intuitive. They make sense when you think about them, and you can kind of piece out what the rule might be based on how things might happen in real life. This is a huge improvement over previous editions when there were lots of rules and lots of very specific things that you had to do. So don't be afraid to improvise. The number 1 rule in D&D is that the dungeon master is always right. You have the authority and the ability to improvise a rule on the spot. Heck, sometimes I even make up rules for things that don't even exist and don't have a rule in Dungeons & Dragons. So if your players ask to do something and you don't know what the rule is, don't panic. Don't think that you need to look it up right away. Just make a rule based on what feels right and what feels fair. If you do this, I guarantee your players are not going to be super upset that you didn't know exactly what it was. And as a matter of fact, they may not even know that you didn't know what that rule was. If you have some veteran players at the table, absolutely ask them if they happen to know the rule, or if a player is really concerned about getting it right, delegate to that player to look up the rule and move on until they figure it out. That's way better than you stopping everything to look something up. So overview, rule number 4, improvise rules that you don't know. Make sure that they're fair, make sure that they make sense, but do not stop the entire gameplay just to look up a rule, especially if it doesn't matter. If you look it up later and you happen to be wrong, just be honest with your party and your players and tell them, hey, last time we did this ruling, I looked it up, it was wrong. From here on out, we're going to do this. Nobody's going to be mad at you. The point is to have fun, and looking up rules is not fun. Until next time, my friends, may your game have advantage. It's Halfling Hannah here, signing out, sending you back to Cork DM.
Thank you so much for being here, Hannah. I wish I had this advice when I started first running Pathfinder. It happened more than once that I had to search the rules and stop the game while my players were silently waiting for us to continue. I still remember these sessions as the ones where I screwed up the most. So remember to keep the game running and fun. But now let's continue with number 5. Be consistent with your calls. To avoid the feeling of randomness in your games, try to stay as consistent as possible with your ruling. If you have to make a call in the heat of the moment, make sure that you write it down. This way you won't forget your home rule and you're able to apply it in similar situations in the future. Improvising a rule is fine, but changing it every time the same situation occurs just makes the player confused, or worse, frustrated. It's important that your players have a sense of what is possible or not. If you stay consistent, it helps them to make decisions that feel believable in your world. If you change rules from the rulebook or add your own to your game, it always helps to talk to your players about it. On one hand, it's important for them to know what you changed in order for them to act upon it. On the other hand, your players' view could help you design rules that are fair and fun for everyone. Number 6, it's not a competition between you and your players. We all play to have fun and enjoy a game session. So we all have the same goal here. It's no competition. There is no winning a round of D&D. As the game master, it is your job to be the referee. The antagonist might want to defeat the party. The wild beast might want to make them its next meal, but it should not be your goal to beat them. It is easy to get into a competitive mindset, especially in combat-heavy games, but try to approach it from a different angle. It should be your priority to make it more rewarding for your players to beat the enemies in a fight. So when they win the fight, it feels like an accomplishment, and if they lose, it still feels epic. In the end, it doesn't really matter what the outcome is. As long as everyone had fun, the session was a success. Number 7. Pay attention to your players and the surrounding atmosphere. A really handy trick to maintain a pleasant atmosphere at the table is to keep an eye out for your players. If you notice that they lose focus or seem bored, it may be time to call it a day or take a break, depending on how long you are already playing. Sometimes taking a bathroom break and letting some fresh air in can really improve the concentration. Especially if you are playing with friends, this gives the group a little time to chat and catch up without disturbing the game. A very important thing is to talk with your players about topics and themes of your game that they might like to explore or that they would rather not want to witness in your games. If you do notice that a player feels uncomfortable with a certain topic, try to avoid it for now and maybe talk to them alone after the session about it. Maybe the player just didn't feel good on that specific day, or maybe they noticed in this particular scene they feel uneasy with such topics. As Game Masters, it is our responsibility to create a friendly and enjoyable environment for all players. Last but not least, number 8. Involve everyone at the table. The game is most fun if everyone is rooting for each other, even the moments where only one player can shine. Everyone else is holding their breath and waiting excitedly for the outcome of the events that unfold. But occasions like these only happen if every player has the opportunity to get the spotlight sometimes. Only if you as the DM can engage all players in your story, they will truly get excited for what is to come. So try to leave no one behind. Leave no dwarf behind! This is the core idea of the game Deep Rock Galactic. Here, each class has a special skill set and together the players can get into situations where everyone is happy to have one another. We were lucky to have you with us, is the motto we want to convey as a DM, and the players should feel this. And that is easy to achieve. Ask players who don't have the confidence or remain silent about what they want to do in this situation. It is okay if players are happy not to be in the spotlight, but as DMs it should be our job to ask these players anyway and give them the opportunity to change their mind. Don't force it upon your players, but give them an opening. Either they use it or they don't. Both options are fine. If you know players or friends who think about running the game, send them this video. Do you have other great tips for new game and dungeon masters? Share them down in the comments below. Thanks again to the lovely Halfling Hannah for collaborating on this video with me. If you want more amazing tips on how to run the game, head over to Halfling Hobbies and tell her I said hi. Thanks for sticking with us till the end. Your dungeon masters for this video were Halfling Hannah and Korok DM, and I hope you join me in the next one.